Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster, May 21st, 1960, November 28th, 1994, was an American serial killer and rapist. Dahmer murdered 17 men and boys, most of whom were of Asian and African American descent, between 1978 and 1991. His crimes typically involved rape, torture, dismemberment, necrophilia, and cannibalism. Despite being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, schizotypal personality disorder, and psychosis, he was found legally sane during his trial. Dahmer was convicted of 16 of the 17 murders he committed in Wisconsin and was sentenced to 16 consecutive life terms on February 17, 1992. 3 years after his arrest, on November 28, 1994, Dahmer was killed by another inmate, Christopher Scarver, with a severe blow to the head in the Columbia Correctional Institution, where he was incarcerated. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA. T.O. Joyce and Ned, formerly Flint, and analytical chemist Lionel Herbert Dahmer. 7 years later, his brother David was born. It is known that Joyce Dahmer's pregnancy with her first son was a challenging process. When Dahmer turned 8, the family moved to Bath, Ohio. While Dahmer's early childhood behaviors were normal, he gradually became introverted and withdrawn, particularly starting around the ages of 10 to 15. It is also known that he did not engage in any hobbies or social activities. During this time, Dahmer frequently rode his bicycle alone around the neighborhood, bringing dead animals home or taking them to nearby forests to dissect and examine them. Once, he even impaled the head of a dead dog on a stake in the backyard. Dahmer began drinking alcohol when he graduated from high school and soon became an alcoholic. In 1977, Lionel and Joyce Dahmer divorced. Jeffrey enrolled at Ohio State University, but was eventually expelled for skipping most of his classes for a semester. During these years, he frequently abused alcohol. Following this incident, Dahmer's father insisted that he join the Army. While initially successful, Dahmer was discharged 2 years later in 1981 due to alcoholism. Like all those discharged from the military, Dahmer was given a ticket to go anywhere. Dahmer later stated that instead of confronting his father, he chose to go to Miami Beach, Florida, citing being tired of the cold as his reason for choosing it. Spending most of his time there working at a hospital, Dahmer was once again dismissed due to alcohol abuse. Upon returning home, Dahmer continued excessive drinking and was arrested for drunk driving in 1981. In 1982, Dahmer moved to West Dallas with his grandmother and lived there for 6 years. During this time, Dahmer's behavior became even more strange. She once placed a store-stolen, decorated male mannequin in her wardrobe. Another time, his grandmother found a .357 Magnum under his bed again after the bad smell coming from the basement. Dahmer told his father that he had disintegrated a dead squirrel with chemicals. He was also arrested twice for indecent exposure in 1982 and 1986. The reason for his second arrest was that he masturbated in front of two boys. In the summer of 1988, Dahmer's grandmother asked her to leave the house because of her grandson's strange behavior, late arrivals, and the smells he left in the basement. So Dahmer found a home on Milwaukee's west side and started working at the Ambrosia Chocolate Factory. On September 26, 1988, on the first day of his move, Somsack was arrested for drugging and abusing a 13-year-old boy named Synthesymphone. He was then released, pending trial for 5 years, and received a prisoner's work permit for 1 year. Dahmer received parole 2 months early and moved into his new apartment. Immediately afterwards, his murders and rapes continued at full speed until his capture in 1991. Jeffrey Dahmer committed his first murder in the summer of 1978 while he was still living with his father. When no one was home, he picked up a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks, took him to his father's house, and suggested they drink beer and have sex together. However, when Hicks wanted to leave, Dahmer killed him by hitting him in the head with a 5-pound dumbbell. For Dahmer buried the body in the backyard. 5. The murder of Dahmer's next victim, Stephen Twomey, occurred 9 years after this incident. 3. After Twomey's murder, Dahmer continued to kill on and off. He killed 2 men in 1988 and 1 in 1989. The victims of the murders in this process generally consist of men chosen from gay bars. Dahmer killed these people after having sex with them. 6. He even kept the skull of Anthony Sears, whom he killed in 1989, until he was caught. The house he moved into after leaving his grandmother in May 1990 became famous as Dahmer's murder base. Apartment 213, 924 North 25th Street, Milwaukee. He committed 4 murders during 1990 and 8 during 1991. In the morning hours of May 27, 1991, 14-year-old Conrad Synthesymphone, coincidentally the younger brother of the boy Dahmer had previously abused, was found on the street naked, under the influence of heavy drugs, and with a bleeding rectum. 2 young women called 911. Although Dahmer tried to run downstairs and take his victim by force, the women prevented him. Dahmer told the police that Synthesymphone was his 19-year-old boyfriend, and that they had an argument while drinking. Despite all the objections of the women who called 911, the police returned the child to Dahmer. Police later stated that when they returned to the apartment, they noticed a foul odor coming from inside, but did not investigate it. The smell here was the decomposing body of Dahmer's previous victim, Tony Hughes, in his bedroom. These 2 police officers did not make any investigation about Synthesymfone's age, and by not checking Dahmer's identity, they prevented it from being revealed that he was actually a child molester who had been released pending trial. 9. That night, Dahmer killed and dismembered Synthesymphone and kept his skull as a souvenir. By the summer of 1991, Dahmer was killing someone on average every week. He killed Matt Turner on June 30th, Jeremiah Weinberger on July 5th, Oliver Lacey on July 12th, and finally Joseph Brandehaupt on July 19th. Dahmer had the idea that he could make zombies out of the corpses. He tried to do this by piercing their skulls with a large syringe and injecting hydrochloric acid or boiling water into them. Other residents of Oxford apartments filed complaints, citing bad smells coming from apartment 213, chainsaw noise, and the sound of heavy items frequently falling on the floor. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories like this.